If you'd like to volunteer, put your name in the chat window. We'll start with Masuma, and then if you would like to read, put your name in the chat window so we can get to you afterwards. Go ahead.
Can I actually go after the next person?
After the next person, sure. So Ali Raza, I think you're next.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسألونك عن الأهلة.
Where are you reading from? We're on page 28, verse 185. Which is Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 185.
185, one second.
Yeah. So the Shahru Ramadan is the beginning. It's about the month of Ramadan.
Does it start with what is a salah?
Oh, it starts with Shahru Ramadan.
Shahru Ramadan. Got it.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام من أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون.
Very good. And this verse is about the month of Ramadan. And so the Quran names the month of Ramadan. That's something unique about the month of Ramadan, that it's named in the Quran, Shahru Ramadan. And the Quran says, Alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. This is the month when the Quran was revealed. And that's one of the reasons why it's especially important to read as much of the Quran as possible during the month of Ramadan. And then the Quran says, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْهُ. If you are present in this month in your hometown, then fast if you are able. And of course, if you're not able, because of sickness, فَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا, marid means sick. If you're sick or if you're traveling, then you will make it up after the month of Ramadan. So if you miss a day of fasting and you're baligh, then you'll keep track. I missed 1 day or 2 days, and then you'll make up that same number of days sometime after the month of Ramadan, before next year. Okay, next, Masuma, do you want to go now?
وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداع إذا دعان فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون أحل لكم ليلة الصيام الرفث إلى نسائكم هن لباس لكم وأنتم لباس لهن علم الله أنكم كنتم تختانون أنفسكم فتاب عليكم وعفى عنكم فالآن باشروهن وابتغوا ما كتب الله لكم وكلوا واشربوا حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض من الخيط الأسود من الفجر ثم أتموا الصيام إلى الليل ولا تباشروهن وأنتم عاكفون في المساجد تلك حدود الله فلا تقربوها كذلك يبين الله آياته للناس لعلهم يتقون.
Thank you. This verse talks about some of the rules of fasting. One of them is when Fajr begins. And it says that when you can see a white string from a black string, that is when Fajr is. But it's not really referring to a string, it's referring to the horizon in the east. When the night begins to end, you see a little bit of light in the horizon, and it kind of looks like a ribbon across the sky. And that becomes a white ribbon of light against the black ribbon of the horizon. And that's when Fajr time starts and when the fast starts. Okay, thank you. Next we have Ali Riza, you recited for us, correct? Next, Muhammad Hussain.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل وتدلوا بها إلى الحكم لتأكلوا فريقا من أموال للناس بالإثم وأنتم تعلمون يسألونك عن الأهلة قل هي مواقيت للناس والحج وليس البر بأن تأتوا البيوت من ظهورها ولكن البر من اتقى وأتوا البيوت من أبوابها واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون.
Thank you. Excellent. And Rashid, would you like to read next?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقاتلوا في سبيل الله الذين يقاتلونكم ولا تعتدوا إن الله لا يحب المعتدين واقتلوهم حيث ثقفتموهم وأخرجوهم من حيث أخرجوكم والفتنة أشد من القتل ولا تقاتلوهم عند المسجد الحرام حتى يقاتلوكم فيه فإن قاتلوكم فاقتلوهم كذلك جزاء الكافرين فإن انتهوا فإن الله غفور رحيم وقاتلوهم حتى لا تكون فتنة ويكون الدين لله فإن انتهوا فلا عدوان إلا على الظالمين.
Thank you. And these are some of the verses that talk about the rules of fighting, of war. And the basic principle was in verse 190, وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ. Fight those who fight against you. So fight in the way of Allah, but only against those who fight against you. وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. And don't go beyond the limit. You know how sometimes when you're in a fight with somebody, you just want to defeat them? Not because it's going to help, but because you feel like you just want to get revenge, or you want to make them suffer. And the Quran says, وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. Don't go beyond the limits. Don't only fight in order to end evil or to help something good. And anything beyond that is called udwan. وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا means don't do udwan. Don't go beyond the limits and try to fight just for your own sake. So the Quran gives us rules of when and how to fight, but the overall principle is وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. Never go beyond the limits of what is just and what is fair. People accuse the Quran of talking about war, but when the Quran talks about war, it talks about war in a way that prevents it from being a cause of evil, a cause of injustice. Okay, Iman, would you like to continue? By the way, for those who are just joining, we're on verse 194 of Surah Al-Baqarah, page 30.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الشهر الحرام بالشهر الحرام والحرمات قصاص فمن اعتدى عليكم فاعتدوا عليه بمثل ما اعتدى عليكم واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله مع المتقين وأنفقوا في سبيل الله ولا تلقوا بأيديكم إلى التهلكة وأحسنوا إن الله يحب المحسنين وأتموا الحج والعمرة لله فإن أحصرتم فما استيسر من الهدي ولا تحلقوا رؤوسكم حتى يبلغ الهدي محله فمن كان منكم مريضا أو به أذى من رأسه ففدية من صيام أو صدقة أو نسك فإذا أمنتم فمن تمتع بالعمرة إلى الحج فما استيسر من الهدي فمن لم يجد فصيام 3 أيام في الحج و7 إذا رجعتم 10 كاملة ذلك لمن لم يكن أهله حاضر المسجد الحرام واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله شديد العقاب.
Thank you. So right after the ahkam of Hajj, of Psalm, fasting, we have the rules of Hajj in the Quran. And actually, this is what we do in our fasting as well. One of the most important du'as that you can make when you're fasting is, oh Allah, give me the ability to go for Hajj. And in the time of the Prophet, people would start making preparation for Hajj in the month of Ramadan, first through du'a, and then they would actually start saving money and making arrangements, because after Eid al-Fitr, you just have basically Shawwal and Dhul Qa'dah, and then it's the time for Hajj. So it's not a lot of time. And even today, after the month of Ramadan, people will make sure they have a passport, they have their immunizations, and they can have their visa and ticket. So you have to prepare earlier. Now, all of us, even if we're not actually planning on going for Hajj, should make that dua, because to be able to go for Hajj is a blessing from Allah. So make that dua, even if you've already been for Hajj, even if you know that you're probably not going to be able to go this year, but make that dua from Allah that He gives us the tawfiq, meaning the ability to go for Hajj. And in particular, to be in Mecca the year that the 12th Imam alayhi salam reappears, because he will first appear from Mecca. Thank you, Brother Iman. And next we have Murtada.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Al-Hajju ashhurun ma'lumat. فما فرض فيهن الحج فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج وما تفعلوا من خير يعلمه الله
وتزودوا.
وتزودوا فإن خير زد التقوى واتقوني يا أولي الألباب.
The waw is silent, so it's Ya ulil albab.
يا أولي الألباب ليس عليكم جناح أن أن تبتغوا فضلا من ربكم فإذا أفضتم من عرفات فاذكروا الله عند المشعر الحرام واذكروه كما هداكم وإن كنتم من قبله لمن الضالين.
Thank you. Good. And Muhammad, you are next. Muhammad, we're on page 31, verse 200.
الناس واستغفروا الله. Sorry.
ثم أفيضوا.
ثم أفيضوا من حيث أفاض الناس واستغفروا الله إن الله غفور رحيم. فإذا قضيتم مناسككم فاذكروا الله كذكركم آباءكم أو أشد ذكرا. فمن الناس من يقول ربنا آتنا في الدنيا وما له في الآخرة من خلاق. ومنهم من يقول ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار.
Thank you. And these verses talk about two different kinds of people. Some say to Allah, Atina fid dunya. They only want to think about this world. And the Quran says that they're not going to have anything in the hereafter. But then there's other people who say, oh, Allah, give us good in this world and good in the hereafter. And the Quran says they are going to have a benefit. And Sarah, you can read that for us.
أولئك لهم نصيب مما كسبوا والله سريع الحساب. واذكروا الله في أيام معدودات فمن تجلى في يوم يومين فلا إثم عليه ومن تأخر فلا إثم عليه من تأخر واتقوا الله واعلموا أنكم إليه تحشرون.
Very good, thank you. And let's move now to Hamad. Verse 204, inshallah.
ومن الناس من يعجبك قوله في الحياة الدنيا ويشهد الله على ما في قلبه وهو ألد الخصام وإذا تولى سعى في الأرض ليفسد فيها ويهلك الحرث والنسل والله لا يحب لا يحب الفساد وإذا قيل له اتق الله أخذته العزة بالإثم فحسبه جهنم ولبئس المهاد.
Thank you. And these are some very important verses. Let's take a look at them. If you go back to verse 204, there's some people in this world, they look really impressive. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُعْجِبُكَ قَوْلُهُ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. So imagine, a lot of people, they have a nice haircut, they have nice fancy glasses, they wear good clothes. When they talk, they look really professional and successful. And they might even say good things, like I care about the environment and I care about good things. But وَهُوَ أَلَدُّ الْخِصَامِ. That person really fights against Allah. Not everybody who looks respectable or good is actually respectable or good. And we have to be very careful about that. One of the things that we can do to recognize these people is, these are people who, when they turn away from the Prophet, then سَعَى فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيُفْسِدَ فِيهَا وَيُهْلِكَ الْحَرْثَ وَالنَّسْلَ. They do fasad, they do bad things. So if a person does bad things, if they cause mischief, evil, then don't get fooled because they're respectable or they're rich or they're famous. A lot of people who are, really famous, singers, actors, athletes, they might not be good people, and we shouldn't get fooled. And another sign is that when somebody tells them what's right, أخذته العزة بالإثم, they then become very selfish or very stubborn. Let's say, for example, that I'm doing something bad, and you come to me and you say, hey, knock it off. And then I say, oh, who are you to tell me what to do? You think you're so good? That's called al-izzatu bil-ithm. I become arrogant in doing something bad. If you tell me to knock it off, that's actually a good thing, a favor you're doing to me. But some people, they become stubborn and then they do it even more. The Quran calls that somebody who is arrogant in sinning. It's one thing if I sin, but I'm embarrassed about it. It's another thing if I'm really proud. Yeah, who are you to tell me what to do? Who is God to tell me what to do? Both are bad, but when you're proud of your sin, it's even worse because it's more likely that you're not going to see your mistake and repent. All right, and we have time for Hania.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa minan nasi man yaswi nafsahu tiga amal dotillah wallahu wa'ufum bil ibad. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu dkhulu fis-silmi wala tattabi'u khutuwatis syaiton innahu lakum adun mubin.
Excellent. Thank you all for reciting. We didn't get to Taha, Jawla, and Mustafa Hassan. Inshallah, we'll start with you tomorrow if you're here at the beginning. Thank you, Musa, for volunteering, but we don't have time. So we will conclude with Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.